Do you ever just want to help someone? Not in a charitable, help the needy kind of way. That's great. But I mean, help someone you know, a parent, a partner, a spouse, your child. Do you ever have advice for them, or do you know something that they could do to help them live a happier, healthier life? You're here, you're listening to this, and that means you're the type of person that goes out of your way to better yourself. You listen to podcasts, you read about personal growth, you try to do what's best for you. And when you're doing that and you're working on yourself, maybe you're hitting the gym, you're reading, you're meditating, maybe you're going to therapy, you might start thinking, well, how do I get other people to be on this road with me? How do I help my loved ones up their game? And today we're going to go over just that. Welcome to Change Made Easy. Changing your habits, routines, and behaviors is hard. We make it easy. I'm Paul Leviton, and I help high achievers like you who feel stuck bridge the gap from where you are and where you want to be. Traditional self-help doesn't work. It's either too rigid, too generic, or too overwhelming. My approach is different. I simplify change by making it so easy it can't not happen. Using my easier framework, I'll help you create habits, routines, and behaviors that stick so you can stop struggling and start thriving. It's that easy. Mandy Hale said, "No matter how much you love someone, you can't force them to change. They have to want that for themselves." Maybe you've come to this conclusion yourself, and you understand that it's kind of hard to force people to change. Fat shaming doesn't work. You can't yell at an addict to make them quit drinking or smoking. And no, unfortunately, you can't tell someone who's feeling down just to cheer up. And yet, something you've heard me say in past episodes is that healed people heal people. It's inevitable that when you are on a journey of self-growth or self-improvement, that you just want to share it with those around you. How could you not? Unfortunately, the route that most people try to take to help to get others to change is pretty wrong. And often it can result in the opposite happening, where people dig in their heels and they change even less. Fortunately for you, though, you're here, where we make change easy, not just for you, but for everyone you know. So today, I'm going to explain to you how not to get someone else to change and what you should do instead if you want them to actually create a better life for themselves. I've worked for nearly 15 years in the change professions, helping people change their lives as a personal trainer, a nutrition coach, a life coach. And one of the questions that I get most often is, how do I help X person change? X being your partner, your kids, your parents, your siblings, whoever. And how do I help them change? How do I get them to exercise, to eat healthy, to take their medication, to change how they talk to me? Like I said in the intro, it's inevitable, I believe, that when you start to do better for yourself, you want to share that with the world. I mean, how could you not? If you feel good, you want everyone around you to feel good. If you're getting healthy, you want those around you to be healthy. If you see someone struggling, you want them to not be struggling. So it makes sense that we want to share that. And the obvious question is, well, how do I get them to do the change that I'm doing? But the answer that I give to this question is the same no matter who the person you're trying to change is or what the change you want them to undertake is. It's simply this: you don't. You don't make someone else change. And I'm telling you this as someone whose entire career hinges on helping people change. And that's why I'm very selective with my words. I can help people change. I cannot force them to. I cannot make them change. And I tell people this right away. When people want to hire me or people want to work with me, I tell them, this is not a me thing. This is a you thing. I can't change for you. I can't make you change. I can't motivate you. I can help you and I can guide you if and when you're ready. And that's a key distinction. Because a lot of times when you're trying to make someone else change, when you're trying to put your change on someone else, you're coming to them when they aren't ready yet. Hey, 1 second before we continue. If you're enjoying this episode, if you're learning something from this show, if you're catching yourself saying, man, this is so helpful, this Paul guy is pretty smart. First of all, thank you. But secondly, if that is you, you might have asked, how can I work with Paul? Can he help me create the change I've been looking for? And if you have, you're in luck. Because after 12 years as a coach, both in person and online, for the first time ever, I'm opening up my calendar specifically to talk to you, my podcast listener. Use the link in the show notes to book a completely free coaching session. If you need help with nutrition, fitness, motivation, mindset, basically anything that goes into building your happy, healthy life, then I want to talk to you. Click the link in the show notes and let's chat. I created this podcast to help, and now I want to go deeper. This is the first time I've ever offered anything like this, and I don't know how long it'll last or how long I'll be able to keep doing it, so take advantage while you can. All right, now let's get back to the show. Scientists have studied change a lot and why we change and why we don't. And one thing that they've discovered is that change happens along a continuum of 5 stages. They call this readiness to change. And the 5 stages of change are pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, action, and then maintenance. So pre-contemplation is, I don't even know that this is a thing. I don't think about it. I don't care about it. It's not even on my radar. Contemplation is where the person understands what they could have, but they might not be ready to make the change yet. They're sitting on the fence. This is someone who says, yeah, I know I should probably eat better. But that doesn't mean that they're ready to actually start making the change. They just know that I wouldn't be healthier if I ate healthier. Then there's preparation. Preparation is like, okay, I'm ready to start figuring out what this could look like. It's testing the waters. You're planning to act soon, but not ready. So this might be researching. I'm ready to join the gym. I'm going to look up gyms around me. They're in preparation mode. They're still not in action mode. And action is the 4th level of change. And that's when you're actually doing the thing, when you're practicing it for a few months. And then the last step is maintenance. And that's when you've created the action, you've created the change, and now you're just maintaining it as you go. So you have to be aware of where people are on their change journey. Because a lot of times people think that, oh, so-and-so was talking to me about this, so they must want my advice. My partner is always talking about how upset they are about their weight or how their clothes fit. They must want me to tell them about going to the gym. But that's not always the case. If someone's just talking about a thing they're struggling with, they might just be in contemplation. They might just be aware of the challenge, but not ready to actually change it yet. So when you come at them with your action steps of like, well, here's what I did to lose weight, or here's what I do at the gym, or they're not ready for that yet, and you're actually going to push them away. Because one of our deepest held needs as humans is autonomy. We want to be able to make our own decisions. So when you come at people with advice, even when it's well-meaning, it can often have the reverse effect. Parents will know this because all children have this built into them, where when you tell them what to do, they often do the opposite. My nephew watches videos on YouTube, and sometimes he'll get on a sound that is just really annoying, or the volume is too loud, or it's just something I don't like. And what I used to tell him was, hey, buddy, can you scroll away from that? I don't want to listen to that right now. And then he'd just stay watching it. But what I learned is I go, hey, man, I love that. Can you turn that up? And he'd look at me and then just swipe away from it. It's the concept of reverse psychology. We all know about it and hear about it, and it's a cliche joke at this point. But it actually affects us in the opposite when we are trying to help people sometimes, when we are even with that person's best interest, giving them well-meaning advice, because it actually triggers something inside of us that wants to be in control of our own destiny. So when you're telling someone what to do, giving them advice, or even trying to help them, it can actually push them away. Because often, again, they are not actually ready to change. And I know there is irony here as I'm talking about this on a podcast that is all about advice around change. But the reality is that if someone is listening to this podcast, they are inherently, at least in the preparation stage of change. They're testing the waters. They're aware of the change that they want to make, and they're looking for advice. So that person has asked, by clicking on this podcast, if you're listening to this, I'm not bombarding you with my advice without your permission. That's the big difference. And a lot of times we think that people are giving us permission when they are talking about their struggles. If someone says, oh man, I've been really struggling with money right now, it might feel like they're asking you, hey, do you have any tips about saving more money? But that's not what they're doing. They might just be venting. And the proper thing to do in that situation is just empathize. Yeah, man, I totally understand. Things are hard right now. That sucks. That can be it. It feels like we need to always chime in with our own 2 cents. In the coaching world, we call this the advice monster. And it's very hard to get over. A lot of my training has been simply in quieting that voice in the back of my head that says that I know the right answer and I need to tell them what to do. Because again, if it were as easy as telling people what to do, everyone would be happy, healthy, rich, fit, and everything else. It's not that simple. We have a need for autonomy, and often people are not ready to change. So when you look at all this and you see that people very well may be struggling, they very well may need help, but that doesn't mean that they are ready to change. And that doesn't mean that they're actually looking for your advice or your help, but you still want to help them. You still want the people around you, your loved ones, to live better, happier, healthier lives. And you still do have a way that could help them. What do you do? Well, my answer is that you simply lead through example. You don't have to tell people what to do. You just have to be a living embodiment of what that is so that they can see it in action. Actions speak louder than words. We all know that. It's so much more powerful for you to just be that person than it ever would be for you to say, hey man, I know what you should do. So when someone says, oh man, I really am so stressed about summer coming and I can't even fit into any of my clothes from last year, I know your inclination is to say, well, have you tried going to the gym? Or have you thought about cutting out carbs? But the chances are they have thought about those things. They know about that stuff. Everyone does. And your next thought might be to say, hey, well, here's what really helped me lose 20 pounds. And although that's a little bit better, the real thing that you need to do in those situations is to, one, again, empathize, say, I totally understand. I can see how hard that is. And then just do what you know to do to be right. You go to the gym. You eat healthy. You create an environment for them where it's easy for them to make those choices. You start going to the gym 5 days a week and say, hey, just so you know, if you were ever interested in going to the gym, I would love to have you there with me as my guest. Hey, I know we usually order dinner on Fridays, but I would love to actually cook something and make something a little bit healthier that I've really enjoyed that I think you would enjoy too. This isn't advice. This is just you living your best life and inviting them in so that they can experience it for themselves. This makes it easier for them to make the healthier, better decisions. Instead of saying, wow, you sound depressed. Have you ever thought about going to therapy? You could talk to someone about a big breakthrough that you had in therapy one time. You know, I was struggling with something like that, and my therapist told me X, Y, and Z, and that always stuck with me. You're not giving them advice. You are just telling them something that worked for you. And maybe that allows them to see a world, a vision of a future in which that could work for them too. And that's what moves people along from that stage of just contemplation to maybe even preparation or action. So I know this theoretically sounds simple. Just lead by example. Just live your best life and others will live theirs. But there's a few reasons that we don't just inherently do this. For one thing, it's just challenging. It's much easier to talk about things, to explain them theoretically, than it is to live it out in action. But again, I'm assuming that because you're here, you're already on that path. And the second reason it's hard is because we want to stop people's struggles. We want to stop people suffering now. So if we have the answer in our heads, it's very hard to hold that back and to just try to lead by example and hope that the person that you're trying to help will just catch on eventually. But the reason that this is the key is because telling them does not work. Shoulding on them, telling them this is what they should do, or telling them that you have the answer can just seem condescending. And again, it just forces to push them back subconsciously. The only time advice should be given outright is if someone asks specifically. So when someone says, oh man, I'm really stressed, summer is coming, and I don't think I'm going to fit into any of my clothes, that's not an opportunity for you to say, hey, here's how you can lose some weight, because they didn't ask. Unless they outright say, hey, summer is coming, I'm really stressed about how I'm going to fit into these clothes, and you've been looking really great lately, I would love if you told me about what you're doing, then that is an opportunity for you to chime in with a little bit of advice. But understand that even in those moments, you still want to mirror back to them what could be best for them. Because often we assume what's best for us is what's best for other people. And I learned this again as a personal trainer, where I had to understand that just because I do something doesn't mean that's what was best for my clients, because my clients are not personal trainers. They don't have the same level of motivation as me. They don't have the same instinct, desires, drives as I do. So for me to say, oh, just do X, Y, and Z because this is what I did, that assumes that they are psychologically driven like I am, which is not the case. Because if they were, they would be personal trainers, they wouldn't be my clients. So similarly, when someone is even asking you for advice, don't assume that what works for you is going to work for them. That's why just saying, here's what I do, I would love for you to come try it with me if you wanted to, rather than saying, here's what you should do. It seems like I'm nitpicking words here, but words are important. Saying, here's what I do, come try this with me and see how it feels is very different than saying, here's what I'd advise you to do. One implies that this is just what I do, and if it works for you, that's great. The other is me implying that I know the answer for you, which even if it is maybe true, it's usually not as much the case as we like to think that it is. We like to think that we have the answers inside us for everyone, and we like to think that, oh, if it works for me, it'll work for them. But very often, whether it's health, fitness, finances, relationships, that is not the case because we are all perfectly unique individuals. So to actually help the people that you love, to actually help the people in your life that you care about, you need to step back from that advice monster. You need to try to quiet that voice in your head that says, I know the answer for you, and realize that the answer that worked for me is not the answer that works for them. And then when you do that, you can simply focus on yourself, living the best version of yourself. Read more, exercise more, eat healthy, invite people in to join you if that's reasonable, but don't try to force anything on them. And don't even try to tell them what you know to be best. Just be the best version of you. As we say in this show all the time, a rising tide raises all ships. If you are getting healthier, eating better, reading more, meditating, feeling good mentally because you're going to therapy, your partner, your mom, your sister, your kids, they're going to see that higher version of you. And eventually they're going to say, hey, what have you been doing? You look great. You sound great. Everything is going so good for you. I would love if I could have some of that too. And that is your opportunity to say, oh yeah, I would love for you to try this thing that I'm doing. Do not try to just tell them what to do. Do not try to impose your values on them because that will only serve to push them away. So my action step for you this week is simple. Just start living your best life. Be the highest version of you, because the highest version of you is the version that other people will aspire to be. And that's the version that will get them to move up those stages of change and ask you, hey, how do I get to where you are? Can you help me? Can I come along for the ride with you? Before you go, I want to talk to you. Literally. For the first time ever in over 12 years as a coach and 4 years doing this podcast, I'm opening up my schedule to help listeners like you for free. I'm offering a free coaching session to you as a thank you for supporting this show. I help people create their healthy habits and happy lives and create positive change around their health, wealth, and relationships. Whatever you're working on, mind, body, and soul, we can cover it all. If you're struggling, I want to help you build a plan to get through it and past it. So go into the show notes and click the link that says book a free call today. I don't know how long I'll be able to keep doing this, and my schedule will fill up. So if you want to take advantage, make it happen ASAP.